Hi everyone, Dave here at East Rosebud Fly and Tackle in Billings, Montana. Today I'm going to show you how to tie the Barr emergere. The emergere is a very important pattern for mayflies. Remember, these nymphs are coming from the bottom and they're trying to escape through this rubbery meniscus, which can be very difficult. They spend a lot of time floating right underneath the surface. Some of them will drift back down and come back up again. Of course, the whole time they're exposed to the trout, they're vulnerable, they cannot swim away, and they're drifting downstream the whole time. You can tie the Barr emergere in a couple of different ways. This is a PMD without a flashback. You use a olive dubbing. I used a brown spade fly or spade hackles for the tail and white for the legs. And I'm going to tie for you today the flashback variation, the blue-winged olive. The reason is blue-winged olives are still out there, folks. They're one of the last mayfly hatches to hatch, and they're still available. And even if you can't see these, and you can tie these from 16s all the way down to size 22s. I'm tying this on a size 16 curved 1X short, 1X strong scud hook, so that you can see what I'm doing. But even if you can't see this fly, suspend it behind a dry fly, do your hopper dropper. You can use a royal wolf or anything else, a fly that you can see, and simply attach your emergere to the hook band of the first fly and use it behind it. And I guarantee you it's a good fish catching fly. So like I say, I'm using a U202. This is a size 16 pupa hook, and this is gray, size 14 Vivus. We want to put this hook initially so that the back end is up a little bit so we can get to it. And we'll start our thread about a hook eye back from the eye and wrap a nice smooth thread base. Now, these patterns originally called for spade hackle. As you can see, I'm wrapping this slightly down the curve. We want a little hump to this. Spade hackle is increasingly difficult to find. What I use now is Côte de Lion, or the CDL tailing packs that we have here at the shop. They're stupendous, stupendous feathers. You can see how long the hackles are. Everything in the tailing pack is spade hackle. So it's wonderful material to work with. It comes in a variety of colors. I'm using this light Pardo for the tail, so we'll simply get about 8 or 10 fibers here, even up the tips, pull them off the hackle. Now, don't worry about how long these are initially, because we're going to end up cutting them to length. So we simply lay these slightly on our side of the hook, bring a soft thread wrap, and then a second thread wrap right in front of it to capture these fibers right on top of the hook shank, like so. You can see how they're tilted down. Now we'll just over wrap these. Until we get to about mid hook. Keep a nice smooth abdomen and cut the butt ends off. Alright, now we're going to return our thread to within a couple of thread turns of where we tied in our tails. We can also now reposition the hook slightly. I'm using for the blue-winged olive, this brown olive superfine dubbing. And we want just a very, very thin dubbing rope. Particularly on a small fly, you have much better control over your dubbing if you keep it thin. Just think about covering the thread and not much more than that. Pull off just a few fibers at a time. Jesus Christ. The reason I stop short of the end of the hook is because it's almost impossible to dub directly up to the hook shank. This allows you to wrap bare thread back and have your dubbing start right at the tail where you want it to. And then we're going to wrap a nice smooth abdomen forward. Add dubbing as you need to. And we'll continue to wrap this. all the way up. Okay, now we'll bring our thread about 2 eye lengths back from the eye, and then I'm going to use the flashback on this size hook. I'm using this medium size Opal Mirage tinsel. It's a wonderful flashback material. It comes in a variety of widths, so you can use it in different applications. We're simply going to put this right on top of the hook shank and tie it down going forward, and then come back to where we started tying it down. Now we're going to add just a little bit more dubbing to cover the top of our tie down of our flashback. We don't need much here. Keep it nice and tight. And then just wrap this forward, like so. Now, for the actual leg fibers, we're going to be using some dun. This is medium dun. This is still the CDL, which is very nice to work with. And again, I'm going to peel off about 8 or 10 pieces. Clip off the butt ends, even things up, and we're going to tie them down right behind the hook eye and come back with our thread to cover them. Now we're going to split these just like you did with a pheasant tail nymph. Simply take about half of them, pull them off to the far side, take a thread wrap or 2 back to push them back, and the same thing with the near side. Bring your thread forward to right behind the eye, and then bring your flashback material over the top. Make sure you've got that cinched down with a few firm wraps, and then trim off that. Now we're going to go ahead and whip finish before we trim our tails and legs. The legs we want trimmed, bring them all up into a single bunch and trim them just a little, about midway down the hook, like so. And the tails we want about half hook shank length. Trim them like so. So in the end, you end up with a wonderful emerger, the Barr flashback emerger. Like I say, this is the time of the season for small blue-winged olives, and I do mean small. These flies are in the 20s and 22s, and this is an easy fly to tie down to those sizes. So always, thanks for joining. If you have any questions or comments, please give us a call. See ya.